nurse and millionaire, from scrubs to luxury life fast. Hey everyone, welcome back to Stories TH. Today, we've got an incredible millionaire story that might just change the way you think about success. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one, so buckle up. And hey, fair warning, you might get inspired, or maybe a little jealous, but in a good way. If you enjoy these stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Stories TH for more amazing content. Also, drop your location and local time in the comments. Let's see where in the world everyone's tuning in from. So, grab a comfy seat, relax, and get ready for a story that proves dreams really can come true. A night that changed everything. The city of Chicago was cloaked in the deep chill of autumn as Claire Bennett stepped out of Mercy General Hospital. The night air hit her like a wave, cool and sharp, mingling with the faint smell of rain lingering on the pavement. She pulled her threadbare coat closer around her thin frame, the weight of exhaustion pressing heavily on her shoulders. After a relentless 12-hour shift, filled with emergencies, whispered reassurances, and quiet moments of prayer, Claire's body ached, but her mind was restless. Her worn boots echoed softly against the cracked sidewalk as she made her way through the near-empty streets. Neon signs flickered overhead, casting colorful glows on the wet asphalt. Despite the cold, Claire felt a strange warmth rise inside her, a flicker of hope she hadn't allowed herself in a long time. She passed a small corner cafe, its windows glowing warmly and the scent of fresh coffee weaving through the air like a comforting embrace. She paused for a moment, inhaling deeply, the aroma stirring memories of early mornings and late nights spent cradling a mug, fighting off fatigue. A quiet smile tugged at her lips as she thought back to the nurse's joke from earlier that day. If caffeine were a currency, I'd be richer than the governor. It was a joke born from exhaustion, but it carried an unspoken truth about the relentless grind of her life. Claire's thoughts wandered to her family, her younger brother struggling to find steady work, her mother battling chronic illness, and herself, caught in the endless loop of hospital shifts and bills. She had always been the strong one, the caregiver, the steady hand in storms that never seemed to end. But tonight, beneath that strength, was a seed of longing, a desire for something more, something different. Suddenly, a sleek black car rolled to a smooth stop beside her. The window slid down, revealing a man with intense blue eyes and a confident, knowing smile. "Ms. Bennett?" he asked gently. Claire's heart skipped a beat. "Yes," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Ethan Caldwell," he said. "We met briefly at the hospital's charity gala last month." His gaze was steady, inviting. "I'm hosting another event tonight, and I would be honored if you would join me." The words hung in the air, surreal and unexpected. Claire's world was one of scrubs and scrapes, not glittering balls and champagne. Yet Ethan's invitation felt like a door opening, a chance to step out of the shadows and into a light she had long forgotten. Back in her small apartment, Claire stood before a cracked mirror, smoothing her simple dress. The scent of jasmine from a flickering candle filled the room, mingling with her nervous breaths. She caught her reflection, tired eyes, but a spirit unbroken. Her fingers traced the faded scars on her hands, souvenirs of years spent healing others. A memory surfaced, summers spent covered in crocodile-shaped sunscreen, her mother's laughter as she protected her from the harsh sun. That silly bottle had been a shield, a small comfort against the world's relentless heat. Tonight, it became a symbol of resilience, protection, and hope. As Ethan's car pulled away, the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and silver. Claire's heart beat wildly with a mix of fear and excitement. This was no ordinary night. It was the moment her life would pivot, where courage met chance and dreams dared to take flight. She took a deep breath, ready to embrace the unknown. Because tonight was the night that changed everything, from scrubs to silver spoon. Claire Bennett's life had always been a delicate balancing act. By day and often by night, she was clad in scrubs, navigating the chaos of Mercy General Hospital with a steady hand and compassionate heart. But beneath that uniform was a woman caught between two worlds, the relentless grind of nursing and a yearning for something beyond the fluorescent-lit wards. Her apartment reflected this quiet tension: simple furnishings, a few framed photos of family, and a modest collection of books she barely had time to read. Each day began before dawn and ended well past midnight, her schedule punctuated by beeping monitors, the steady rhythm of footsteps in sterile hallways, and the whispered gratitude of patients she barely had time to know. Claire's journey had never been easy. Raised in a working-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, she was the first in her family to attend college, driven by a fierce determination to build a better life. Nursing was a calling, but also a practical choice, a profession that promised stability, if not luxury. Her brother Marcus struggled with unemployment, and their mother's chronic illness weighed heavily on Claire's shoulders. Bills piled up on the kitchen table each month like silent threats. The dream of financial freedom seemed a distant star, flickering faintly beyond reach. Yet Claire carried herself with quiet dignity. She knew every dollar mattered, every sacrifice counted. Still, on nights like this, after the city's glow faded and the exhaustion settled deep into her bones, doubt crept in. Was this all life had to offer? Endless shifts, tight budgets, and dreams shelved for another day? Her mind flickered to Ethan Caldwell, the enigmatic CEO who had invited her to the gala. His world was one of opulence and power, a realm she had only glimpsed from afar. The way he moved through life, commanding attention with a simple smile, was both mesmerizing and intimidating. She wondered what he saw in her, a nurse from humble beginnings, a woman whose hands bore the scars of hard work and whose eyes held stories of pain and perseverance. Did he see strength, or was it just a passing fancy, a momentary spark in his glittering life? As she prepared to leave for the gala, Claire felt the weight of her choices. Would stepping into Ethan's world mean leaving parts of herself behind? Could she navigate the glittering halls without losing the grit that defined her? The taxi ride to the event was a blur of city lights and swirling thoughts. She watched reflections dance across the windows, feeling both a stranger and an adventurer in this unfamiliar chapter. Arriving at the towering estate where the gala was held, Claire stepped into a world transformed. Crystal chandeliers cast prisms of light across marble floors. Elegant guests in tailored gowns and sharp tuxedos mingled with glasses of champagne in hand. The air was thick with murmurs of power, ambition, and whispered alliances. Ethan greeted her with a warmth that eased her nerves. "You look stunning," he said, offering his arm. For the first time in years, Claire allowed herself to feel seen, not just as a nurse, but as a woman worthy of this dazzling world. Throughout the evening, conversations flowed about business, art, and dreams. Yet amid the glitz, Claire noticed cracks beneath the polished surface, subtle tensions between guests, guarded smiles, and eyes that flickered with secrets. She realized that wealth and status came with their own battles, ones just as fierce as those she faced in hospital wards. Still, something about Ethan's presence grounded her. Behind his confident exterior, she glimpsed moments of vulnerability, a flicker of loneliness that mirrored her own. As the night deepened, Claire understood that this was more than a gala. It was a crossroads, a chance to rewrite her story, not by abandoning who she was, but by embracing the possibilities beyond her scrubs. And somewhere in the back of her mind, the memory of the crocodile sunscreen, the symbol of resilience, reminded her that protection comes not from wealth, but from the strength within. The night was young, and Claire's journey was just beginning. From scrubs to silver spoon, Claire Bennett's life had always been a delicate balancing act. By day and often by night, she was clad in scrubs, navigating the chaos of Mercy General Hospital with a steady hand and compassionate heart. But beneath that uniform was a woman caught between two worlds, the relentless grind of nursing and a yearning for something beyond the fluorescent-lit wards. Her apartment reflected this quiet tension: simple furnishings, a few framed photos of family, and a modest collection of books she barely had time to read. Each day began before dawn and ended well past midnight, her schedule punctuated by beeping monitors, the steady rhythm of footsteps in sterile hallways, and the whispered gratitude of patients she barely had time to know. Claire's journey had never been easy. Raised in a working-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, she was the first in her family to attend college, driven by a fierce determination to build a better life. Nursing was a calling, but also a practical choice, a profession that promised stability, if not luxury. Her brother, Marcus, struggled with unemployment, and their mother's chronic illness weighed heavily on Claire's shoulders. Bills piled up on the kitchen table each month like silent threats. The dream of financial freedom seemed a distant star, flickering faintly beyond reach. Yet Claire carried herself with quiet dignity. She knew every dollar mattered, every sacrifice counted. Still, on nights like this, after the city's glow faded and the exhaustion settled deep into her bones, doubt crept in. Was this all life had to offer? Endless shifts, tight budgets, and dreams shelved for another day? Her mind flickered to Ethan Caldwell, the enigmatic CEO who had invited her to the gala. His world was one of opulence and power, a realm she had only glimpsed from afar. The way he moved through life, commanding attention with a simple smile, was both mesmerizing and intimidating. She wondered what he saw in her, a nurse from humble beginnings, a woman whose hands bore the scars of hard work and whose eyes held stories of pain and perseverance. Did he see strength, or was it just a passing fancy, a momentary spark in his glittering life? As she prepared to leave for the gala, Claire felt the weight of her choices. Would stepping into Ethan's world mean leaving parts of herself behind? Could she navigate the glittering halls without losing the grit that defined her? The taxi ride to the event was a blur of city lights and swirling thoughts. She watched reflections dance across the windows, feeling both a stranger and an adventurer in this unfamiliar chapter. Arriving at the towering estate where the gala was held, Claire stepped into a world transformed. Crystal chandeliers cast prisms of light across marble floors. Elegant guests in tailored gowns and sharp tuxedos mingled with glasses of champagne in hand. The air was thick with murmurs of power, ambition, and whispered alliances. Ethan greeted her with a warmth that eased her nerves. "You look stunning," he said, offering his arm. For the first time in years, Claire allowed herself to feel seen, not just as a nurse, but as a woman worthy of this dazzling world. Throughout the evening, conversations flowed about business, art, and dreams. Yet amid the glitz, Claire noticed cracks beneath the polished surface, subtle tensions between guests, guarded smiles, and eyes that flickered with secrets. She realized that wealth and status came with their own battles, ones just as fierce as those she faced in hospital wards. Still, something about Ethan's presence grounded her. Behind his confident exterior, she glimpsed moments of vulnerability, a flicker of loneliness that mirrored her own. As the night deepened, Claire understood that this was more than a gala. It was a crossroads, a chance to rewrite her story, not by abandoning who she was, but by embracing the possibilities beyond her scrubs. And somewhere in the back of her mind, the memory of the crocodile sunscreen, the symbol of resilience, reminded her that protection comes not from wealth, but from the strength within. The night was young, and Claire's journey was just beginning. The CEO's mysterious smile. The grand hall shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers, the murmurs of polished conversations weaving through the air like delicate silk threads. Claire Bennett found herself standing near the edge of the crowd, her gaze drifting across the sea of elegantly dressed faces, people whose lives she had only glimpsed through the glossy pages of magazines or the brief headlines on business news. Yet amidst the sea of sophistication, one figure anchored her attention, Ethan Caldwell. His presence was magnetic. Ethan moved with effortless grace, his tailored midnight blue suit perfectly fitted, his dark hair tousled just so, and those piercing blue eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 unspoken stories. But it was his smile, enigmatic, subtle, and almost teasing, that unsettled Claire. It was the kind of smile that made you wonder what secret lay behind it, like the smile of someone who knew more than they let on. Throughout the evening, Ethan was a man in demand, engaged in conversations that rippled with power and influence. Yet, when their eyes met, he'd break away from the crowd and make his way toward her, his smile softening into something almost vulnerable. "Claire," he said as he approached, his voice smooth but carrying an undercurrent of something deeper. "I'm glad you came." She nodded, her heart fluttering. "Thank you for inviting me. It's a different world from the hospital." Ethan chuckled softly. "Yes, it can be overwhelming, But sometimes, the most unexpected places hold the greatest opportunities. His words lingered in the space between them, a tantalizing promise wrapped in mystery. As the night unfolded, Ethan shared stories that painted him in shades far from the typical billionaire stereotype. There were moments of quiet honesty, a glimpse of a man who carried burdens unseen, who navigated a world where every smile masked a strategy and every alliance was a delicate dance. Claire listened, drawn to the layers beneath the surface. Despite the grandeur around them, Ethan's eyes betrayed moments of loneliness, a weariness that resonated with her own. At one point, as the music swelled, Ethan offered his hand. "May I have this dance?" Her breath caught. Dancing had been a distant memory, one lost in years of hard work and sacrifice. But she placed her hand in his, allowing herself to be led onto the polished floor. The world fell away as they moved in sync, a silent conversation through glances and gentle touches. For a moment, the gap between their worlds seemed to narrow, replaced by something raw and real. Yet, beneath the enchantment, Claire felt a tremor of caution. The lives they inhabited were vastly different, and the stakes were high. She wondered what dreams Ethan harbored behind that mysterious smile, and whether she could fit into the tapestry of his life without losing herself. Remember the crocodile sunscreen? The little talisman of protection from her childhood summers? She clung to that symbol as a reminder that resilience wasn't just about shielding oneself from the sun, but about braving the unknown with courage. As the final notes of the orchestra faded, Ethan whispered, "This night is just the beginning, Claire. There's so much more waiting for us." Her heart pounded with anticipation and fear, caught between the promise of possibility and the reality of their worlds colliding. The night had offered a glimpse behind the velvet curtain, and Claire knew her life would never be the same again. An unexpected invitation. The gala's grandiose atmosphere still lingered in Claire's mind like a vivid dream as she returned to her modest apartment that night. The chandeliers, the silk gowns, the hushed whispers of deals and secrets, it all seemed worlds away from the hospital's harsh fluorescent lights and the sterile scent of antiseptics she was used to. Yet the memory of Ethan Caldwell's enigmatic smile and that unexpected invitation clung to her thoughts like a delicate thread, pulling her toward an uncharted future. Days had passed since that evening, but Ethan's words echoed persistently in her mind. "I'm hosting a private gathering next week. I want you there." There was no pretense in his voice, only a quiet certainty that stirred both excitement and anxiety within her. It was more than just another social event. It felt like an opportunity and a challenge. Claire found herself hesitating, caught between the familiar comfort of her routine and the thrilling yet intimidating prospect of stepping deeper into Ethan's world. The hospital was her battleground, her sanctuary, but it was also a place of limits. This invitation was a doorway to something unknown, something that could redefine her life entirely. The following days were a whirlwind of preparation and self-reflection. Claire scrutinized her wardrobe, rummaging through clothes that no longer felt like her. She tried on dresses, each one a silent question. Could she truly belong here? Would these elegant fabrics and shimmering heels transform her, or merely mask the woman beneath? On the night of the gathering, Claire's apartment buzzed with nervous energy. The soft glow of candles flickered across the room as she rehearsed polite conversation and polite smiles, trying to steel herself for the inevitable scrutiny of the upper crust. When Ethan arrived to escort her, the warmth of his presence was a balm to her jittery nerves. "You look radiant," he whispered, taking her hand with a reassuring squeeze. The car glided through the city streets, the hum of the engine a steady rhythm against the fluttering in her chest. They arrived at an exclusive penthouse overlooking the city skyline, where the twinkling lights below mirrored the stars above. The guests were a mix of power players, business magnates, influential artists, and socialites, all draped in opulence. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and quiet ambition. Despite the glittering surroundings, Claire noticed subtle undercurrents, a glance exchanged between rivals, a whispered warning, a tension lurking beneath the surface smiles. She realized this world was a complex dance where every move was calculated, and trust was a precious commodity. Throughout the evening, Ethan remained by her side, guiding her through conversations and introducing her to figures she never imagined she'd meet. Yet, amid the elegance and power, Claire felt the familiar stirrings of doubt. Was she an outsider here? A nurse who'd stumbled into a world not meant for her? But Ethan's gaze was steady and sincere. "You're not here by accident," he said softly. "There's a reason I asked you to come." As the night deepened, Claire found herself drawn into unexpected moments of laughter and vulnerability. She shared stories of her struggles and dreams, and Ethan listened not as a CEO to an employee, but as a man who saw her true self. Then came a quiet moment on the balcony, away from the prying eyes and sparkling lights. The city stretched beneath them, a tapestry of possibilities and uncertainties. Ethan turned to her, his voice barely above a whisper. "This invitation is more than a social call, Claire. It's an invitation to trust, to leap, to believe in what we could build together." Her heart pounded, caught between fear and hope. The night had opened a door, but stepping through meant confronting her deepest fears and embracing a future rewritten. And as the cool night air brushed her skin, Claire felt the weight of the crocodile sunscreen memory, a symbol not just of protection, but of courage to face the sun and whatever shadows lay beyond. This was no longer just an invitation. It was the first step toward a new destiny. Secrets behind the velvet curtain, the grand penthouse, with its sweeping views of the Chicago skyline, seemed to Claire like a palace hidden behind a velvet curtain, an opulent facade, concealing a world of complexities she was only beginning to glimpse. The night's earlier elegance gave way to hushed whispers and knowing glances as guests drifted into secluded conversations, their words dripping with subtext. As Ethan guided Claire through the labyrinth of power and influence, she couldn't help but notice how appearances masked reality. Behind every poised smile was a guarded secret. Behind every toast raised was an unspoken alliance. It was a world where trust was as rare as genuine kindness, and every gesture could be a calculated move. Claire found herself pulled into a conversation with a poised woman named Vivian, whose sharp eyes and carefully curated charm spoke of years navigating this intricate dance. Vivian's gaze lingered on Claire, assessing, measuring. "You must be brave to cross these velvet curtains," she said softly. "Not everyone who enters this world finds their way out unscathed." The warning wasn't lost on Claire. She had stepped into a realm where fortunes were made and broken, where loyalty was tested, and where the price of misstep could be devastating. Ethan appeared beside her then, his presence steady and reassuring. "This world isn't for the faint of heart," he admitted quietly. "But neither is yours." Claire's mind flashed back to the hospital, the long nights, the relentless demands, the moments of quiet triumph and heartbreak. Both worlds demanded resilience, but the rules were different. Here, battles were fought in whispers and smiles, there, in urgent action and raw emotion. The party moved into the early hours, shadows stretching longer, conversations growing more candid. Ethan shared fragments of his story, burdens carried in silence, sacrifices made behind closed doors. Claire saw a man caught between the weight of legacy and the yearning for freedom. She, too, carried her own scars, unseen, but deeply felt. The crocodile sunscreen memory surfaced again, a symbol of protection and perseverance amid harsh realities. As the night waned, Claire realized that wealth and power came with their own vulnerabilities, their own prisons. But amid the secrets and shadows, a fragile hope flickered. A hope that honesty, trust, and courage could carve a path through even the most guarded velvet curtains. And Claire was determined to find that path, no matter the cost. A dance that sparked desire. The rhythm of the orchestra filled the opulent ballroom, weaving a spell of enchantment that wrapped around Claire Bennett like a silken thread. As the music swelled, she found herself standing beside Ethan Caldwell, his hand extending with an inviting grace she hadn't felt in years. Her heartbeat quickened, not merely from the prospect of dancing, but from the magnetic pull of the moment itself. Claire hesitated only briefly before placing her hand in his. The polished floor beneath their feet gleamed, reflecting the soft glow of chandeliers and the glitter in the eyes of onlookers. Around them, conversations dimmed to murmurs, and the world contracted to the space between two people moving in perfect, silent harmony. Ethan led with a confidence that belied the vulnerability she glimpsed behind his poised exterior. As they moved, Claire felt a shift within herself, a gentle unraveling of the walls she had built so carefully. Every step, every turn, was a conversation without words, a language spoken through touch and glance. The scent of his cologne mingled with the faint fragrance of jasmine from her dress, creating an intoxicating blend that made her senses sharpen. She felt the warmth of his breath near her ear, the subtle pressure of his fingers entwined with hers. The music carried them forward, an endless dance between light and shadow, certainty and doubt. But amid the elegance, Claire's mind raced. What did this moment mean? Was it merely a fleeting spark in an otherwise complicated world? Could a nurse from a modest background truly belong in the dazzling orbit of a billionaire CEO? The questions flickered like shadows, but Ethan's steady presence anchored her. He whispered softly, "You dance beautifully." A smile broke through her reservations, the tension in her shoulders easing. "I'm learning," she replied, her voice tinged with both humor and honesty. There was a brief, knowing chuckle from Ethan. "Good, because I have a feeling this dance is only the beginning." In that moment, surrounded by glittering chandeliers and the watchful eyes of society's elite, Claire felt something rare and exhilarating, a connection that transcended status and expectation. Remember the crocodile sunscreen, that whimsical, protective charm from her childhood? Tonight, it symbolized her courage to step into the unknown, to let herself be seen, and to dare to desire. As the final notes of the music faded, the applause rose, a chorus of approval that felt both distant and intimate. Claire and Ethan bowed to each other, their eyes locking in a silent promise. The dance had sparked more than movement. It had ignited a desire for possibility, for change, and for a future unwritten. And in the depths of that glittering night, Claire Bennett realized that sometimes the most profound transformations begin with a single step. The whispered deal, the afterglow of the dance, still shimmered between Claire Bennett and Ethan Caldwell as they found a quieter corner of the grand estate, away from the prying eyes and polished conversations. The ornate walls seemed to close in, the muffled sounds of laughter and clinking glasses fading into a distant hum. It was here, amidst the shadows and flickering candlelight, that Ethan leaned in, his voice dropping to a confidential whisper. "I need to tell you something," he began, eyes searching hers for understanding. "What I'm about to propose isn't simple, and it's not without risk." Claire's pulse quickened, a mixture of intrigue and apprehension tightening her chest. She nodded, silently urging him to continue. Ethan's gaze flicked to the windows, where the city lights twinkled like distant stars. "Caldwell Enterprises is on the cusp of a major shift, one that could redefine everything. But it's fragile, vulnerable to forces that want to see us fail." He paused, weighing his words carefully. "I want you to be part of this, Claire, not just as a guest or a bystander, but as a partner. There's a deal I want to make, one that could change both our lives." Claire swallowed hard, the gravity of the moment settling over her like a heavy cloak. She was no stranger to hard choices. Years in nursing had honed her ability to face crises head-on, but this was different. This was a leap into uncharted territory, where stakes were measured in millions and futures hung in the balance. "What kind of deal?" she asked, voice steady despite the whirlwind inside. Ethan smiled, a blend of hope and determination flickering in his eyes. "A partnership. You have strengths I admire: your resilience, your compassion, your insight into a world most here overlook. I believe that together we can navigate the challenges ahead." Claire's mind raced, images flashing of hospital corridors, late-night shifts, and the unyielding grind she'd endured. Could she really step into this new role? Could she trade the familiar for the unknown without losing herself? She thought of the crocodile sunscreen again, a small, stubborn symbol of protection and courage from her past. It reminded her that strength wasn't about armor, but about facing the sun with open eyes. Ethan reached out, his hand brushing hers gently. "I know it's a lot to take in, but I promise you won't be alone." The sincerity in his voice was undeniable, and for a moment, Claire allowed herself to believe in the possibility of something greater, a future where her dreams weren't confined to whispered hopes, but lived realities. She looked into his eyes and saw not just a CEO, but a man willing to risk everything for a vision, and perhaps for her. With a quiet breath, Claire nodded. "I'm listening." And in that whispered moment, a pact was forged, one that would test their limits, challenge their fears, and bind their fates in ways neither could have imagined. Outside, the city pulsed with life, oblivious to the quiet deal sealed in the shadows of the night. Midnight confessions. The clock had long since struck midnight when Claire found herself seated in the quiet solace of Ethan's expansive study, far removed from the glittering gala that still hummed faintly in the distant rooms. The warm glow of the fireplace flickered against the walls lined with books, an intimate sanctuary amid the storm of wealth and expectations. Ethan sat across from her, a glass of aged whiskey cradled in his hand, the amber liquid catching the firelight like liquid gold. For a moment, silence enveloped them, thick with unspoken words and heavy truths. Claire's gaze drifted to the window, where the city lights blinked softly against the night sky, a reminder of the world beyond this secluded refuge. Her fingers traced the rim of her own glass, seeking grounding in the cool touch. Finally, Ethan broke the silence, his voice low and tinged with vulnerability. "There's a side to me that few ever see," he began, eyes fixed on the dancing flames. "The pressures, the loneliness, the weight of expectations, it's a burden that doesn't fade, no matter how successful you become." Claire listened intently, her heart aching with a mix of empathy and recognition. Behind the polished veneer was a man grappling with demons, not unlike her own demons, forged from loss, sacrifice, and the relentless chase for meaning. She found herself sharing in turn the late nights at the hospital, the patients whose stories etched themselves into her soul, the quiet moments when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm hope. "Sometimes," she whispered, "it feels like I'm running a race with no finish line." Ethan's eyes met hers, a flicker of understanding passing between them. "That's the paradox of our lives," he said softly. "We chase dreams that demand everything, yet often leave us feeling emptier." The conversation unfolded like a fragile dance, truths laid bare, fears confessed, walls gently crumbling. They spoke of hopes deferred and the resilience that carried them forward, the moments of joy hidden amid struggle. Claire recalled the crocodile sunscreen from her childhood, a simple symbol of protection against harsh realities. Tonight, it transformed into a metaphor for their shared journey, the courage to face life's burns together, unshielded yet unyielding. As the first light of dawn tinged the horizon, Ethan reached across the table, his hand enveloping hers. "Whatever happens next," he vowed, "we face it together." In that quiet hour, amid whispered confessions and newfound trust, Claire and Ethan forged a bond deeper than wealth or status, a bond forged in shared vulnerability and unspoken promises. And the night, which had begun as a chance meeting, blossomed into the foundation of a partnership neither had anticipated, but both silently craved. The crocodile sunscreen reminder. As the days unfolded after that transformative night, Claire Bennett found herself clinging to a seemingly insignificant memory, one that unexpectedly became her anchor amid the swirling tides of change. The image of a small bottle, shaped like a crocodile, the bright green sunscreen from her childhood summers, surfaced repeatedly in her thoughts. It was a relic of simpler times, a symbol of protection and resilience bestowed by her mother's careful hands. At first glance, the crocodile sunscreen seemed trivial, nothing more than a quirky container meant to shield a child's delicate skin from the harsh sun. Yet, for Claire, it carried a deeper meaning. It was a reminder of the unwavering care and strength that had shaped her from a young age, a beacon of hope when life's storms threatened to overwhelm her. In moments of doubt, when the pressure of navigating Ethan's complex world pressed down like a suffocating weight, Claire would close her eyes and envision that crocodile. The memory fortified her spirit, reminding her that resilience wasn't about armor or pretense, but about facing challenges head-on with courage and grace. The days became a delicate dance of balancing two worlds, By morning, she returned to the hospital, donning her scrubs and stepping back into the relentless rhythm of caregiving. By night, she navigated boardrooms and lavish events, learning the unspoken rules of power and influence. It was exhausting, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. Yet, through it all, the crocodile sunscreen symbol remained her constant companion, an emblem of the strength she carried within, the shield she wielded against doubt and fear. One afternoon, as Claire prepared for a crucial meeting with Ethan's business advisors, she felt the familiar flutter of anxiety. The stakes were higher than ever, and the weight of expectation threatened to unnerve her. Pausing, she reached for a small charm she'd tucked into her purse, a miniature replica of that crocodile sunscreen, gifted to her by a childhood friend who understood its significance. Holding it tightly, Claire drew a steadying breath and stepped into the boardroom with renewed determination. The faces around the table were sharp, questioning, and expectant, but she met their gaze with quiet confidence. Her insights, drawn from years of grounded experience and newfound business acumen, surprised even the most seasoned executives. After the meeting, Ethan approached, a proud smile lighting his face. "You handled that brilliantly," he said softly. "You're more than I ever imagined." Claire smiled, the weight on her shoulders lightening just a bit. "I have a secret weapon," she replied with a wink, pulling the small crocodile from her purse. The gesture drew a ripple of laughter, breaking the tension and reminding them both that beneath the trappings of wealth and ambition were two people grounded in authenticity and shared strength. That night, as she lay in bed, Claire reflected on the journey so far, the leaps of faith, the whispered deals, the moments of vulnerability. The crocodile sunscreen was more than a memory. It was a testament to her journey from the hospital's stark halls to the glittering heights of a new life. And she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she carried within her the resilience to face them. Because sometimes the smallest reminders hold the greatest power. A twist in the night. Just as Claire Bennett began to feel a fragile sense of balance settling between her two worlds, fate intervened with a twist she never saw coming. The night air was thick with anticipation as she and Ethan prepared to attend a high-profile charity event, a gathering that promised to cement their place among the elite and propel Caldwell Enterprises into a new era. Claire's dress shimmered softly under the chandelier lights, her nerves a tangled mix of excitement and apprehension. Ethan's usual confident demeanor was tinged with a rare edge of tension, his sharp gaze scanning the room as they entered. The guests greeted them with polished smiles and subtle nods, a dance of power and influence in every gesture. Midway through the evening, as conversations flowed and champagne glasses clinked, a hush fell over the room. A figure emerged from the shadows, Jonathan Pierce, a formidable rival CEO, known for his ruthless tactics and unyielding ambition. His arrival sent a ripple through the gathering, eyes darting and whispers spreading like wildfire. Jonathan's gaze locked onto Ethan's with a cold intensity that spoke of unfinished battles and simmering grudges. Claire felt the atmosphere shift, the air charged with an electric tension that prickled her skin. The polished veneer of the event cracked, revealing the undercurrents of rivalry and power struggles lurking beneath. Ethan's jaw tightened, his usual calm facade wavering for a brief moment. He leaned closer to Claire, whispering, "This changes everything." His voice was low, laced with urgency and resolve. As Jonathan approached, the room seemed to hold its breath. The two men exchanged curt words, their conversation a veil of civility masking a battlefield of wills. Claire's heart pounded as she watched the unfolding drama, acutely aware that this confrontation could unravel the delicate progress they'd made. In the midst of the tension, a whispered warning reached Claire's ears, a hint that Jonathan had uncovered sensitive information that could jeopardize Caldwell Enterprises and the fragile alliance between her and Ethan. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Secrets carefully guarded were now exposed, and the path forward twisted into uncertainty. Claire grappled with a surge of emotions, fear, anger, and a fierce determination to protect what they'd built. That night, as the gala ended in a swirl of speculation and guarded conversations, Claire realized that the journey to wealth and love was fraught with unexpected trials. The glittering world she'd stepped into was as perilous as it was dazzling, demanding resilience, strategy, and unwavering courage. Yet, amidst the upheaval, the memory of the crocodile sunscreen lingered a beacon reminding her that even in the harshest light, protection and strength were possible. With Ethan by her side, Claire steeled herself to face the storm, knowing that the night's twist was not the end, but the beginning of a deeper, more challenging chapter. The Hidden Letter. In the days following the gala's dramatic twist, Claire Bennett found herself drawn deeper into the shadows that lurked behind the dazzling world she'd stepped into. The tension that had crackled through the event was far from over. Rather, it had opened a door to secrets and betrayals she never imagined she would confront. One quiet afternoon, as she sifted through a stack of documents in Ethan's office, her fingers brushed against an old, yellowed envelope tucked between the pages of a financial report. The seal was unbroken, the handwriting elegant yet unfamiliar. Her curiosity piqued, Claire carefully opened the letter, the paper crackling softly in the stillness. The contents revealed a secret, an undisclosed agreement between Ethan and a powerful consortium that could jeopardize the very foundation of Caldwell Enterprises. The letter hinted at past compromises and a looming threat that could unravel everything Ethan had built. It was a revelation that cast a long shadow over their partnership and their budding trust. Claire's mind raced as she grappled with the implications. The man she was growing to know the man who had opened his vulnerabilities to her was carrying burdens heavier than she had imagined. The letter was a reminder that beneath the charm and power lay a complex web of alliances and dangers. She felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders. Nursing had taught her to confront crises with calm and clarity, but this was a different battlefield, one where words and secrets wielded as much power as any medical instrument. Claire knew she had to tread carefully. The hidden letter was more than a piece of paper. It was a crossroads, a test of loyalty, and a catalyst for the next phase of their journey. That evening, as the city lights twinkled against the dark sky, Claire sought Ethan out. In the quiet of his study, she confronted him with the letter, her voice steady, but laced with concern. Ethan's expression darkened as he read, shadows flickering across his face. He sighed, a mixture of regret and resolve. "Some debts are paid in shadows," he murmured, "but I won't let them destroy what we're building." Their conversation stretched into the night, a delicate dance of truth and trust. Claire realized that love and ambition were entwined in a fragile balance, and that facing the past was essential for forging a future. Throughout it all, the memory of the crocodile sunscreen, her symbol of resilience, reminded her to protect not just herself, but the fragile hope they shared. The hidden letter was a challenge, but also an opportunity to confront secrets, strengthen bonds, and redefine what it meant to trust. And Claire Bennett was ready to face it head-on. Betrayal among the elite, the calm facade of the elite world. Claire Bennett had cautiously stepped into shattered like fine glass under pressure. What began as subtle whispers soon erupted into undeniable truths, the sting of betrayal seeping through the corridors of power like a slow poison. Claire found herself navigating a treacherous maze of alliances and deceit, where trust was a currency in short supply. The revelation of the hidden letter was just the beginning. Claire discovered that Ethan Caldwell's most trusted confidant, Marcus Davenport, a man she had met only briefly at a few gatherings, had been undermining Ethan's position for months. Marcus was weaving a web of manipulation, using confidential information to line his own pockets and influence critical decisions against Ethan's interests. Claire felt the weight of this betrayal deeply. She'd come to admire Ethan not only for his business acumen, but for the rare vulnerability he'd shown her. To see that someone so close to him could harbor such deceit was a blow that reverberated in her soul. As Ethan confronted Marcus in a tense boardroom showdown, Claire watched from the sidelines, her heart pounding. The words exchanged were sharp and cutting, the air thick with accusations and recriminations. Marcus's arrogance clashed with Ethan's steadfast resolve, the battle of wills mirroring the larger war for control. Claire's mind raced. How had she, a nurse from humble beginnings, become entangled in such a high-stakes power struggle? The transition was dizzying, fraught with moments where the line between ally and adversary blurred dangerously. But within the chaos, Claire's own strength surfaced. She became a pillar for Ethan, offering counsel grounded in empathy and clear-eyed pragmatism. Her insights, drawn from years of navigating human fragility, provided a fresh perspective in a world often blinded by ambition. The betrayal was a test not just of Ethan's leadership, but of their partnership. It demanded resilience, honesty, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. In the quiet moments, Claire reached for the symbol that had guided her through uncertainty, the crocodile sunscreen. It reminded her that protection came not from denial, but from facing challenges head-on, armed with courage and clarity. As the elite world around them convulsed with intrigue and rivalry, Claire and Ethan tightened their bond, ready to reclaim their path with renewed determination. Betrayal among the elite was a harsh lesson, but one that strengthened their resolve. And Claire Bennett was no longer just a nurse, watching from the sidelines. She was a force to be reckoned with. The risk that paid off. Claire Bennett sat alone in the quiet of her apartment, the city lights flickering faintly through the curtains. The weight of recent events pressed heavily upon her chest, betrayals uncovered, alliances tested, and the precarious balance between her old life and the new one she was forging. She knew that the path ahead was riddled with uncertainty, yet within her burned a fierce determination to seize control of her destiny. The whispered deal Ethan had proposed weeks ago had evolved into something far more complex than either of them had anticipated. It wasn't just about business, it was about trust, vulnerability, and the willingness to risk everything for a chance at transformation. Claire reflected on the pivotal moment when Ethan asked her to invest not just her time, but her reputation and resources into Caldwell Enterprises. For someone who had spent years living paycheck to paycheck, the idea of stepping into the world of high-stakes finance was both thrilling and terrifying. She remembered the late nights poring over contracts, the endless phone calls with lawyers and advisors, and the sleepless hours debating whether to take the plunge. Friends and family questioned her sanity. Why risk stability for the unknown? But Claire saw beyond the fear. She recognized that growth demanded risk, and comfort zones were cages disguised as safety. The crocodile sunscreen, the emblem of resilience from her childhood, became her talisman, reminding her that protection came not from avoidance, but from facing the sun head-on. With Ethan's unwavering support, Claire made her decision. She invested her savings, leveraged her limited resources, and embraced the gamble with open eyes and a steady heart. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Market fluctuations, strategic negotiations, and high-pressure meetings became her new battleground. Every success was hard-won, every setback a lesson. But slowly, the risk began to pay off. Caldwell Enterprises secured a major contract that promised to elevate the company's standing and solidify their position against rivals. Claire's instincts and dedication played a crucial role in navigating the complex landscape, earning her respect among seasoned executives. The exhilaration of this victory was tempered by the knowledge that the road ahead remained fraught with challenges. Yet, for the first time, Claire felt a profound sense of agency, a belief that her choices, courage, and resilience could shape her future. Ethan looked at her one evening, eyes shining with pride and gratitude. "You've changed everything," he said softly. Claire smiled, feeling the warmth of accomplishment mingled with the quiet strength that had carried her from the hospital halls to the boardroom. The risk had been immense, but the payoff was more than financial. It was the reclaiming of her life and the forging of a new identity. And as she held the miniature crocodile sunscreen charm in her hand, Claire knew that this was only the beginning of a remarkable journey. The secret investment. The sun was just beginning to rise over Chicago when Claire Bennett sat at her kitchen table, a cup of untouched coffee growing cold beside her. The quiet morning contrasted sharply with the turmoil that churned within her. The secret investment Ethan had confided in her days earlier was no ordinary financial move. It was a gamble that could either make them or break them. Ethan had revealed the existence of a private equity opportunity, an under-the-radar project involving a promising tech startup with the potential to revolutionize the industry. The catch? It was risky, shrouded in uncertainty, and demanded a level of trust that was difficult for Claire to grasp fully. For hours, Claire pored over documents and financial forecasts, trying to decipher the language of investors and market analysts. The numbers danced before her eyes, projections, margins, and variables that could swing wildly. It was a world far removed from the medical charts and patient files she was used to. Yet beneath the complexity, Claire sensed something more profound, a chance to step beyond her past limitations and stake a claim in a future she had long dreamed of but never dared to pursue. Ethan's confidence was contagious. He spoke of the startup's visionary leadership, its innovative technology, and the gap it aimed to fill in the market. But more than that, he spoke of the partnership between them, a melding of worlds, strengths, and dreams. Claire knew that this secret investment was more than money. It was a symbol of their shared ambition and trust. Taking a deep breath, she agreed to move forward. The decision was not without fear. The stakes were high, and the consequences of failure daunting. But Claire's journey had taught her that courage was not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act despite it. As the investment was finalized, a wave of exhilaration and responsibility washed over her. She was no longer just a nurse, or even just Ethan's partner. She was a stakeholder in a vision that could reshape their lives. Days turned into weeks as the startup began to gain traction. Media buzzed with stories of its disruptive potential, investors took notice, and confidence grew. Claire found herself at the center of a new network, balancing the demands of business with the grounding lessons of her past. Throughout it all, the crocodile sunscreen charm remained close, a talisman reminding her of resilience, protection, and the power to face life's challenges head-on. The secret investment was no longer a whispered promise. It was a catalyst that transformed Claire from a bystander to a player in a world she once thought unreachable. And as the startup's success soared, so did Claire's belief in the extraordinary possibilities that come from taking a leap of faith. Love under pressure. As the sun dipped below the Chicago skyline, casting long shadows over the city, Claire Bennett found herself standing at a crossroads she had never anticipated. Her world a tapestry woven from threads of resilience, ambition, and newfound love was now being tested under the relentless pressure of expectations and social scrutiny. The relationship between Claire and Ethan Caldwell, once a quiet connection blossoming amid the chaos of business and gala nights, had become a subject of whispered conversations and sideways glances within the elite circles they navigated. The chasm between their worlds, her humble beginnings as a nurse and his towering status as a billionaire CEO, was no longer just a private challenge, but a public spectacle. Family gatherings, corporate events, and social functions became arenas where Claire felt the weight of judgment. Skeptical eyes questioned her place by Ethan's side. Murmurs of doubt about her intentions and worth echoed behind polished smiles. Even Ethan's closest allies cast cautious glances, wary of the outsider who dared to cross invisible lines. Claire's heart ached under the dual burden of defending their love and staying true to herself. She grappled with insecurities that crept like shadows, whispering fears of inadequacy and rejection. The luxurious gowns and sparkling jewels felt like masks she had to wear to fit into a world that often seemed determined to keep her at arm's length. Yet, amidst the turmoil, Ethan's unwavering support was her anchor. He stood beside her in boardrooms and ballrooms alike, his hand a steady presence that spoke volumes beyond words. Their love, forged in moments of vulnerability and courage, became a sanctuary where judgment held no power. Late one evening, in the quiet of Ethan's penthouse, they shared a rare moment away from prying eyes. The city lights flickered below as Ethan took Claire's hands in his. "Love under pressure is the truest test," he whispered, "but I believe in us, in what we've built." Claire looked into his eyes, seeing not just the CEO, but a man willing to defy convention for a chance at something real. She squeezed his hands, drawing strength from their shared resolve. "We'll face whatever comes together." The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges that would test their commitment and courage. But Claire knew that love, when forged under pressure, had the power to transform, to transcend the barriers that sought to divide. And as the night embraced them, she embraced the truth that their love was worth every trial, every whispered doubt, and every obstacle. For in the crucible of pressure, their bond was tempered into something unbreakable: the CEO's unexpected vulnerability. Beneath the polished veneer of power and wealth, Ethan Caldwell harbored a vulnerability few had ever witnessed. For years, he had perfected the art of control, commanding boardrooms, negotiating billion-dollar deals, and maintaining an image of unshakable confidence. Yet, in the quiet moments shared with Claire Bennett, the fortress of his persona began to reveal cracks, exposing a man weighed down by loneliness and the ghosts of his past. It was during a rare evening away from the glare of public scrutiny that Ethan chose to let down his guard. The penthouse, usually bustling with strategists and socialites, was now a silent sanctuary, lit only by the soft glow of city lights filtering through the expansive windows. Claire sat beside him on the plush sofa, her hand resting gently on his. The silence stretched comfortably between them, a space where words could flow unburdened. Ethan's voice was low, almost hesitant. "There's a side of me that few ever see," he confessed. "Behind the success and the deals lies a man who's faced profound loss, isolation, and doubt." He spoke of a childhood shadowed by high expectations and emotional distance, of sacrifices made to uphold a family legacy that often felt more like a cage than a blessing. The relentless pressure to succeed had shaped him, but it had also left scars, wounds hidden beneath tailored suits and rehearsed smiles. Claire listened, her heart aching with empathy. The vulnerability before her was a testament to trust, a gift he rarely bestowed. She shared her own fears and struggles, weaving threads of common humanity between their disparate worlds. The walls they'd each built began to crumble, replaced by a fragile but growing intimacy. In those moments, the crocodile sunscreen, once a simple childhood memory, became a symbol of their shared resilience. Just as it had shielded Claire from the sun's harsh rays, their openness and trust now protected them from the emotional storms threatening to engulf their bond. Ethan's unexpected vulnerability deepened their connection, forging a partnership not just of ambition, but of genuine understanding and support. As the night wore on, Claire realized that true strength often lay not in impenetrable facades, but in the courage to be seen fully and loved regardless. And in the quiet embrace of that revelation, both their lives were forever changed. Claire's inner battle. The quiet moments alone were the hardest for Claire Bennett. Away from the glittering events, the commanding boardrooms, and Ethan's reassuring presence, she wrestled with the storm raging inside her. The clash between her humble origins and the opulence she now inhabited stirred a fierce battle of emotions, hope tangled with fear, love shadowed by doubt. Each morning, she donned her nurse's scrubs and returned to Mercy General Hospital, the place where her heart truly belonged. The hospital's sterile corridors, the steady beeping of monitors, and the gentle gratitude of patients grounded her, reminding her of the life she had built through sweat and sacrifice. Yet, the pull of Ethan's world, its promise and peril, was a constant undercurrent. In the solitude of her apartment, Claire faced the questions she rarely voiced aloud. Was she enough for this new life? Could she navigate the delicate dance between authenticity and adaptation? The whispers of insecurity crept in, fueled by the subtle judgments she sensed from society's elite and even from within herself. She thought of the crocodile sunscreen, a childhood talisman of protection. It symbolized resilience, but resilience didn't mean the absence of fear. It meant confronting vulnerability, standing tall despite it. Claire's nights were restless, her mind replaying moments of hesitation, wondering if she had made the right choices. The weight of expectation pressed heavily, the spotlight unforgiving. Yet, she refused to be consumed by doubt. Drawing strength from her roots, she reminded herself of the journey that had brought her here, the years of relentless work, the battles fought in quiet dignity. She embraced the discomfort of growth, recognizing it as the crucible where true transformation was forged. Her inner battle was not a sign of weakness, but a testament to her humanity. It deepened her empathy, sharpened her resolve, and enriched her love for Ethan. As days turned into weeks, Claire learned to balance the two worlds, not by losing herself, but by weaving her authenticity into every step forward. The fight within her was ongoing, but with each victory, no matter how small, Claire Bennett moved closer to becoming the woman she was destined to be. The gala that changed the game. The night air in Chicago was crisp and electric, as Claire Bennett stepped into the grand ballroom of the city's most exclusive hotel. The annual Caldwell Gala was in full swing, a glittering event that drew the city's elite, the movers and shakers of business and society. For Claire, this gala was more than just a social gathering. It was a defining moment, a chance to prove that she belonged not only in Ethan Caldwell's world, but as a formidable presence in her own right. Dressed in an elegant, understated gown that hugged her figure just right, Claire moved through the crowd with a newfound confidence. The whispers and curious glances from guests who once doubted her presence were replaced with respectful nods and warm smiles. She wasn't just Ethan's companion anymore. She was a partner, a strategist, a woman who had carved her place through grit and grace. Ethan was by her side, his usual calm replaced with a palpable pride. He introduced her to key figures, investors, philanthropists, and influencers, all eager to engage with the woman who had transformed both his life and business. The gala's highlight was the announcement of a major philanthropic initiative led jointly by Ethan and Claire. Their project aimed to provide healthcare access to underserved communities, a cause close to Claire's heart. As she took the stage to share her vision, the room fell silent, captivated by her passionate words and authentic connection to the mission. Her speech was a masterful blend of personal story and strategic insight, weaving her experiences as a nurse with the ambition to effect systemic change. The applause that followed was thunderous, affirming her role not just as a figurehead, but as a catalyst for meaningful impact. Behind the scenes, the gala also served as a battleground for corporate maneuvering. Claire witnessed firsthand the intricate dance of alliances and rivalries, understanding the stakes and the subtle power plays at work. Yet, armed with her intelligence and Ethan's unwavering support, she navigated these waters with poise. Later in the evening, amidst the glow of chandeliers and the hum of conversation, Ethan whispered, "Tonight, you changed the game." Claire smiled, her heart swelling with a mixture of accomplishment and anticipation. The gala had not only solidified her place, but opened doors to opportunities she had only dreamed of. Remember the crocodile sunscreen? That childhood symbol of protection and resilience seemed to shine brighter now, a testament to the journey from scrubs to silver spoons, from doubt to determination. The night was a turning point, a celebration of past struggles, and a herald of the future they would build together. And Claire Bennett was ready to seize it. A secret that could destroy them. The aftermath of the gala brought a shadow that neither Claire Bennett nor Ethan Caldwell could ignore. Hidden beneath the glittering celebrations and applause was a secret one, powerful enough to unravel everything they had fought so hard to build. It began as a whisper, a subtle leak among the city's elite circles. An anonymous source had obtained sensitive information documents detailing questionable dealings tied to Caldwell Enterprises, implicating Ethan in a scandal that could devastate his reputation and cripple the company. The details were murky, but the potential damage was crystal clear. Claire first heard of the threat during a late-night call from Ethan's legal counsel. The weight of the situation pressed down on her like a storm cloud, darkening even the brightest moments they had shared. The news ignited a firestorm of anxiety and resolve within her. She knew the stakes were higher than ever. Together, Claire and Ethan faced the looming crisis with steely determination. They gathered their closest allies, crafted strategic responses, and prepared to confront a battle that would test their resilience and unity. The scandal was more than just a threat to their business. It was a challenge to their integrity, their trust, and their love. In private moments, Claire wrestled with the fear of losing everything the life she was building, the partnership she treasured, and the identity she was forging. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, she found strength in their shared commitment and in the lessons learned from her past struggles. The crocodile sunscreen, a symbol she carried through every trial, became a beacon of hope. It reminded her that protection came not from avoiding adversity, but from facing it with courage and conviction. Public scrutiny intensified as media outlets seized on the story, painting a narrative that threatened to overshadow the truth. Ethan's image as a titan of industry was under siege, and Claire's role became even more crucial. She stood as his steadfast partner, both in the public eye and behind closed doors, lending unwavering support and clear-headed strategy. Their response was measured but powerful transparency where possible, decisive action against internal threats, and an unwavering message of integrity. Slowly, the tide began to turn as allies rallied and the truth emerged from the shadows. The ordeal left scars, but also forged an unbreakable bond between Claire and Ethan. They learned that secrets, no matter how dangerous, could be faced and overcome with trust, resilience, and unity. As the city's lights flickered into dawn, Claire felt a profound sense of resolve. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but together they were unstoppable. And in the quiet moments, the little crocodile sunscreen charm rested in her palm, a reminder that even the smallest symbols held the greatest strength. The power of forgiveness. The journey Claire Bennett and Ethan Caldwell embarked upon was marked by trials, triumphs, and transformations. Yet, amid the whirlwind of ambition and adversity, one lesson stood out as a beacon of hope: the profound power of forgiveness. In the quiet aftermath of the scandal that threatened to dismantle Caldwell Enterprises, wounds lay bare. Betrayals cut deep, trust fractured like fragile glass, and the weight of resentment threatened to overshadow all that had been built. Ethan grappled with the sting of deception by those closest to him, while Claire wrestled with the shadows of doubt cast over their partnership. But in the stillness of reflection, they both realized that forgiveness was not a sign of weakness, but a courageous act of liberation. It was the choice to release the chains of anger and pain, to open space for healing and growth. Claire remembered the crocodile sunscreen, the emblem of protection from her childhood, and saw it anew as a symbol of grace. Just as the sunscreen shielded her from the sun's harshness, forgiveness shielded her heart from bitterness. Together, they confronted those who had wronged them, not with vengeance, but with honesty and a willingness to rebuild. The process was neither swift nor easy. It demanded humility, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to truth. Through this journey, Claire and Ethan deepened their bond, discovering that forgiveness was a bridge connecting fractured souls. It allowed them to move forward, unburdened by past grievances, and to focus on the promise of their shared future. Their story became a testament to the transformative power of compassion, not only for others, but for oneself. In choosing to forgive, they reclaimed their narrative, turning pain into strength and loss into opportunity. As the city skyline shimmered beneath a dawn sky, Claire held the small crocodile sunscreen charm close, a reminder that protection comes not just from shields, but from the courage to forgive. And in that courage, she found freedom. When worlds collide. The dazzling world Ethan Caldwell inhabited had always been distant to Claire Bennett, one of towering skyscrapers, exclusive clubs, and endless possibilities. Yet as their lives intertwined, the collision of their vastly different worlds became inevitable, creating both breathtaking moments and profound challenges. Claire's roots in the humble neighborhoods of Chicago stood in stark contrast to the opulence surrounding Ethan. The quiet resilience shaped by years of nursing, where every shift was a testament to compassion and endurance, seemed worlds apart from the strategic boardrooms and lavish galas that defined Ethan's existence. Their collision was not merely social or financial, it was cultural, emotional, and deeply personal. Friends and family from both sides struggled to bridge the gap. Claire's close-knit circle found it hard to grasp the glittering life Ethan led, while Ethan's elite acquaintances whispered questions about Claire's place among them. The media, ever hungry for scandal, painted their relationship as an unlikely fairy tale or a calculated alliance, never quite capturing the complex reality beneath. Headlines and rumors became an invisible barrier, testing their resolve. Yet, within this collision, Claire and Ethan discovered a powerful fusion. Their differences became a source of strength rather than division. Claire brought grounding authenticity to Ethan's world, reminding him of the humanity behind the deals. Ethan introduced Claire to opportunities and perspectives that expanded her horizons beyond what she ever imagined. Navigating this fusion required patience, empathy, and courage. There were moments of misunderstanding, moments when the worlds seemed too far apart. But their commitment to each other and their shared vision for the future propelled them forward. Claire often reflected on the crocodile sunscreen, her childhood symbol of protection. It reminded her that even when worlds collide, resilience and openness could shield and nurture growth. As they stood side by side, facing the challenges and joys of their intertwined lives, Claire and Ethan embodied the possibility that love could bridge any divide. Their story was no longer about two worlds in conflict, but about a new world created together. The public scandal. The news broke like a tidal wave, sweeping through Chicago's elite and shattering the fragile veneer of privacy that Claire Bennett and Ethan Caldwell had fought so hard to maintain. Tabloids and social media erupted with headlines questioning their relationship, business dealings, and personal integrity. The scandal was relentless, a storm that threatened to engulf everything they had built. Claire awoke one morning to find her name splashed across the front pages alongside Ethan's, a nurse-turned-millionaire, a love story under siege. The public scrutiny was suffocating. Friends distanced themselves, while strangers offered unsolicited opinions. The glitz and glamour of their world faded into a backdrop of suspicion and gossip. Ethan faced his own battles. The boardroom turned cold, allies became cautious, and competitors seized the moment to advance their agendas. The pressure mounted, testing his leadership and resolve. Through it all, Claire and Ethan stood together, a united front against the onslaught. They crafted thoughtful responses, engaged with the media transparently, and leaned on each other for strength. It was a trial by fire, one that demanded resilience, patience, and unwavering trust. In private moments, Claire grappled with the emotional toll the invasion of privacy, the judgment, the fear of losing not just status, but identity. Yet, she found solace in the bond with Ethan and the lessons of perseverance she had carried since childhood. The crocodile sunscreen charm, tucked safely in her purse, became a talisman of protection and hope, a reminder that even in the harshest glare, resilience could shine through. Slowly, the narrative began to shift. Their authenticity and commitment resonated with many, turning skeptics into supporters. The scandal, once a weapon, became a catalyst for transparency and growth. As the city lights flickered on, signaling a new dawn, Claire and Ethan emerged stronger, their love and partnership tempered by adversity. The public scandal was not the end, but a crucible that forged a deeper, more unbreakable bond. And in that bond, they found a future worth fighting for. Fighting for their love. The storm of public scrutiny and corporate battles had forged Claire Bennett and Ethan Caldwell into something stronger, a couple united not only by love, but by shared trials that tested their very core. But as the spotlight intensified, so did the challenges, and fighting for their love became a daily battle. Every glance from a stranger, every whispered rumor, and every questioning look from former allies was a reminder that their relationship was anything but conventional. The gulf between their worlds, the hospital's healing corridors, and the corporate towers seemed to grow wider, filled with obstacles both seen and unseen. Claire faced skepticism not just from the elite circles she had recently entered, but also from her own community, where whispers questioned whether she had traded her values for glamour. The nurse, who had once been a beacon of care and resilience, now found herself navigating a maze of expectations and judgments. Ethan, meanwhile, confronted the pressures of preserving his company's legacy while standing firmly beside Claire. The boardroom, once a place of control, became a battlefield where personal and professional loyalties clashed. Rivals seized on their vulnerability, and even trusted colleagues wavered. Yet, amid the chaos, Claire and Ethan's love remained a fortress. They communicated with raw honesty, confronting fears and insecurities that threatened to erode their bond. Late-night conversations and stolen moments became lifelines, grounding them in a shared commitment that transcended status or circumstance. Claire drew strength from the memories of her past, the crocodile sunscreen, the symbol of protection and perseverance that had accompanied her through every trial. It reminded her that love, like life, required courage and resilience. Together, they faced the world head-on, refusing to let external pressures dictate their story. Their fight was not just for themselves, but for the belief that love could bridge divides, heal wounds, and inspire change. Each victory, no matter how small, reinforced their determination. They learned to stand tall amid adversity, to trust in their partnership, and to embrace the unpredictable journey ahead. Fighting for their love was not easy, but Claire and Ethan knew it was worth every battle, because love, when forged in fire, becomes unbreakable. The Millionaire Nurse. Claire Bennett's transformation from a dedicated nurse to a millionaire businesswoman was nothing short of remarkable, a journey marked by courage, resilience, and an unwavering belief in herself. The path had been arduous, filled with late nights, tough decisions, and moments when the weight of her dual worlds threatened to overwhelm her. But through it all, Claire never lost sight of the core values that defined her: compassion, integrity, and a commitment to making a difference. These principles guided her as she navigated boardrooms and gala events, reminding her that wealth and success were tools to be wielded responsibly. Her rise to millionaire status was not just a testament to financial acumen, but to the power of perseverance and authenticity. Claire leveraged her unique perspective, blending the empathy honed in hospital corridors with strategic thinking cultivated through her partnership with Ethan Caldwell. The media soon took notice, painting her as the millionaire nurse, a symbol of hope and possibility for those who dared to dream beyond their circumstances. Her story inspired countless others, proving that backgrounds did not dictate futures and that determination could break even the most formidable barriers. Despite the newfound fame and fortune, Claire remained grounded. She continued to advocate for healthcare access, championing initiatives that bridged the gap between privilege and need. Her philanthropic work became a cornerstone of her identity, a way to honor the journey that had shaped her. Ethan watched with pride as Claire embraced her role not just as a partner in business and life, but as a leader in her own right. Their collaboration was a fusion of strengths, a partnership that challenged conventions and redefined success. The little crocodile sunscreen charm, once a childhood keepsake, now hung around her neck, a daily reminder of the protection and resilience that had carried her through. Claire Bennett's story was more than a fairy tale. It was a narrative of grit, love, and the relentless pursuit of a better life. She embodied the truth that greatness could arise from humble beginnings and that the heart's courage was the greatest wealth of all. And as she looked toward the future, Claire knew her journey was just beginning, a new beginning. The dawn broke gently over Chicago, casting a golden light that spilled into Claire Bennett's penthouse apartment. As she stood by the expansive window, gazing out at the city that had witnessed her transformation, a profound sense of peace settled within her. The journey from nurse to millionaire, from stranger to partner, had been filled with trials, triumphs, and moments of unexpected grace. But today marked not an end, but a new beginning. The chapters of her life were woven with courage, the courage to step beyond comfort zones, to face the unknown, and to embrace vulnerability. Claire reflected on the path that had brought her here. The relentless shifts in hospital corridors, the whispered deals behind velvet curtains, the dances that sparked desire, and the battles fought in boardrooms and hearts alike. Each experience had shaped her, forging a resilience as steadfast as the crocodile sunscreen charm she wore close to her heart, a symbol of protection, perseverance, and the unwavering light that guided her through darkness. Beside her, Ethan Caldwell stood, a steady presence that had become both anchor and wings. Their partnership, forged in trust and tempered by adversity, promised a future rich with possibility. Together, they had faced betrayals, scandals, and the harsh scrutiny of a world quick to judge, but slow to understand. Yet, through it all, their love endured, a testament to the power of unity and shared dreams. Claire knew that the road ahead would not be without challenges. The world of wealth and influence was complex, ever-changing, and often unforgiving. But she no longer feared the unknown. Instead, she welcomed it as a canvas upon which to paint new dreams, build new ventures, and continue the work that gave her life meaning. Her commitment to philanthropy deepened, focusing on expanding access to healthcare and education, bridging the gap between the worlds she once inhabited. She became a beacon of hope for those who, like her, dared to envision a life beyond circumstance. As the city awakened, Claire took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of possibility thrumming in her veins. The night that had changed everything was now a distant memory, replaced by the bright promise of tomorrow. With Ethan's hand entwined in hers, she stepped forward, ready to write the next chapter of their extraordinary story. A new beginning where love, resilience, and ambition intertwined to create a legacy far greater than either had imagined. And so, Claire Bennett's journey continued not just as a millionaire nurse or the partner of a CEO, but as a woman who embraced her truth and shaped her destiny with courage and grace. Claire Bennett's story teaches us that transformation is born from resilience, courage, and the willingness to step beyond our comfort zones. Life will inevitably present challenges, betrayal, doubt, and fear, but it is how we respond that defines our path. Claire's journey from a dedicated nurse to a confident businesswoman shows that true strength lies not in avoiding hardship, but in facing it head-on with integrity and grace. Her experience reminds us that embracing vulnerability can deepen connections and lead to unexpected growth. Forgiveness, trust, and openness are powerful tools that not only heal wounds, but also build bridges toward a better future. No matter where we start, it's our choices, perseverance, and belief in ourselves that shape our destiny. For every adult navigating life's complexities, Claire's story is an invitation to embrace change with courage, to hold fast to our values, and to believe in the limitless possibilities that come from daring to dream and act. As we come to the close of this story, take a moment to breathe it all in. Life's journey is rarely straight or simple. It winds, it bends, and sometimes it challenges us in ways we never expected. But like Claire, like Ethan, there's a quiet strength within each of us waiting to be discovered, nurtured, and set free. Remember, success isn't just about wealth or status. It's about resilience, kindness, and the courage to keep moving forward when the path gets tough. Your story is still unfolding. Embrace every step, every lesson, every triumph. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe to Stories TH. And don't forget to share where you're watching from and your local time in the comments. I'd love to know. Now, as you settle in, close your eyes if you wish, and let this moment wrap around you like a soft whisper. You're not alone on your journey. Until next time, take care and keep dreaming.